The best performing stock in Europe over the last 3 years? Not tech, not AI, not crypto, a German ammunition factory, up 700% because Europe ran out of bullets. I need to explain how that's possible. Ukraine fires up to 10,000 artillery shells per day. They cost anywhere from $2 to $8,000 each. That adds up to roughly $50 million every single day, just gone. Smoke, shrapnel, dirt. And I kept asking myself, who makes those shells? Like, somebody is manufacturing them, somebody is shipping them, somebody is getting paid. So I started digging quarterly reports, stock filings, SEC documents, annual reports, the boring parts in the back that nobody reads. And what I found is five companies, five, that have turned the war in Ukraine into a financial machine, not secretly, publicly, on the stock exchange, with glossy earnings calls and smiling executives. But here's the thing that actually made me stop scrolling and sit up. One of these companies, the fifth one, has never manufactured a single weapon, never shipped a bullet, never built a bomb, and its CEO, on an earnings call on the record, compared his product to a tactical nuclear weapon. We'll get there. But first, the German company whose stock went up 700% because Europe ran out of bullets. January 2022. There's a company in Dusseldorf called Rheinmetall, old school defense manufacturer, makes ammunition, armored vehicles, boring military stuff. Stock price 96 euros, the kind of stock your grandfather buys and forgets about. Then Russia invades Ukraine, and Europe realizes something absolutely insane. They have almost no ammunition, not like we're running low, almost none. Germany, the biggest economy in Europe, had enough shells for 2 days of real combat. 2 days. The most powerful economy on the continent could fight a war for a long weekend, and then nothing. Empty. And suddenly, every government in Europe needs shells at the same time, right now. And Rheinmetall is one of the only companies that can make them. So, what happens to the stock? You can probably guess. 96 euros in February 2022, over 200 by end of year, past 500 in early 2024, above 700 by 2025, 730% in 3 years. Revenue 5.7 billion in 2021. By 2024, 9.8 billion. Their own projection for 2027, 20 billion. That's not growth. That's a hockey stick. And here's the part that kills me. For decades, European politicians told Rheinmetall to stop making so many weapons. Diversify. Make car parts. The Cold War is over, they said. Nobody needs shells anymore. Rheinmetall actually listened. They started making pistons and engine blocks. Then, February 24th, 2022 happens, and those exact same politicians, they're on the phone, not asking, begging, please make more shells, as many as you can, as fast as you can. The CEO said it out loud in an interview. Defense spending in Europe will never go back to pre war levels. And looking at the numbers, he's right. But Rheinmetall is just the warm up. Because across the Atlantic, a much bigger player was already cashing in. Okay, so June 2022, somewhere in eastern Ukraine, a soldier presses a button. Six rockets launch in under 30 seconds. They fly 50 kilometers and hit a Russian ammo depot so hard that secondary explosions go on for hours. You've probably seen the satellite footage. The weapon is called HIMARS. The company that makes it, Lockheed Martin. Price per launcher, $5.5 million. Before the war, almost nobody outside the military had heard of HIMARS. 6 months later, it was the most talked about weapon on the planet. Ukrainian soldiers were painting names on the launchers. The internet turned it into a meme. And then there was the Javelin, the shoulder fired anti tank missile that stopped Russian columns outside Kyiv. Someone created St. Javelin. Literally, the Virgin Mary cradling a javelin launcher, stickers, murals, tattoos, a religious icon holding an American missile. You can't buy that kind of marketing. And Lockheed's financial team was just counting. Here's the number that matters, not revenue, the backlog. That's the total value of contracts already signed but not yet delivered. In 2022, Lockheed's backlog hit $150 billion. That's not an order book. That's the GDP of a country. 150 billion in guaranteed future revenue. Lockheed doesn't just want demand to continue. They're financially invested in it. But it gets better or worse, depending on how you look at it. Every HIMARS launcher needs specific rockets made by Lockheed, plus maintenance contracts, software updates, spare parts, training. It's not a purchase, it's a subscription, a military subscription that locks in entire countries for decades. Poland ordered 500 units, then Romania, Australia, Taiwan. The war in Ukraine became the greatest live fire advertisement in military history. Every general on Earth watched those videos and picked up the phone. Since February 2022, Lockheed has added over $60 billion in market cap. 60 billion, more than the entire annual budget of the US Department of Education, created by a war. Now, the next company. Most people have never heard of it. Family business from Turkey, and it created the first viral military technology in history, the Bayraktar TB2, Turkish combat drone. $5 million, a fraction of any Western equivalent. Looks like a stretched out model airplane. Doesn't look like something that would change a war. The company that makes it, Baykar Technologies, is literally a family business. Founded by an engineer, run by his sons, and the CTO is married to Erdogan's daughter. A defense dynasty with a direct line to the presidential palace. In most countries, that would be a scandal. In Turkey, it's a business model. When the war started, these drones went viral. The thermal footage, black and white, crosshair, a vehicle, a flash, then nothing, got millions of views. Ukrainian soldiers wrote a folk song about the Bayraktar, an actual folk song about a Turkish drone. You can't make this up. Revenue before the war, around 500 million. By 2023, estimated 2 to 3 billion, 5 times more. And Baykar is private, no stock ticker. The family keeps the numbers to itself. But the brilliant move, they donated 3 drones to Ukraine for free. When Lithuania crowdfunded money to buy one, Baykar refused the payment and sent the drone anyway. Poland tried the same thing. Same answer. Keep your money. Generous? Sure. But also, every donated drone was a live commercial broadcast to 30 countries with defense budgets. The orders that followed made those donations look like pocket change. Smartest military marketing in history, and it cost them $0. Okay, so far, shells, missiles, drones. 3 companies making things that explode. The fourth one doesn't make anything that explodes. And if you paid a heating bill in Europe in 2022, you already felt its impact. September 2021. European natural gas, 27 euros per megawatt hour. Normal. Boring. September 2022. 342 euros. 12 times higher. If you were in Germany that winter, you felt that number every time you opened your heating bill. That wasn't inflation. That was a price shock caused by one thing. Russia's gas was gone and Europe had no backup plan. For years, Europe got 40% of its gas from Russia. Cheap, reliable, flowing through pipelines they built specifically to connect to Russian fields. Then the war made that gas toxic. Then the Nord Stream pipelines got blown up, and Europe was scrambling. Cheniere Energy, Houston, Texas, biggest LNG producer in the US. They take American natural gas and ship it across the Atlantic on tankers the size of aircraft carriers. Revenue in 2021, 15.8 billion. Revenue in 2022, 33.4 billion, doubled in 1 year. Not because they invented something, because they had gas, Europe had desperation, and as one analyst put it, the math did itself. The CEO made over $18 million that year for running a company that did exactly what it always did, just to a continent with no alternative. And the almost funny part? European officials spent years lecturing Americans about fracking, dirty energy, irresponsible. Some countries blocked LNG terminals from being built. Then the tanks rolled. And those same officials were calling Houston, how fast can you ship? Germany built its first floating LNG terminal in 194 days, from zero to operational in 6 months. Not because of ambition, because of panic. Shells, missiles, drones, gas. 4 companies posting record numbers from one war, but the fifth one is different from all of them. No factory, no assembly line, no warehouse. Its CEO compared his product to a tactical nuclear weapon. And when I looked at the numbers, I understood why. Late 2022, Western Ukraine. There's a building that looks like a school from the outside. Inside, Ukrainian officers are sitting in front of screens showing the entire front line in real time. Every Russian position, every supply route, every troop concentration, all updated continuously. The software making it all work. Palantir. Palantir, It was founded by Peter Thiel, the PayPal guy. He named it after the seeing stones in Lord of the Rings, the ones that let you see anything, anywhere. Subtle, right? What they do is actually hard to explain. So think of it this way: Google Maps, but merged with every intelligence agency on Earth, refreshed every few minutes with a layer that predicts what happens next. That's Palantir. Ukraine was their ultimate demo, not a pitch deck, a war. The CEO personally went to Kyiv, stood in a city under missile threat, shook hands with the people using his software to direct artillery fire, give away the product where the cameras are rolling. Let every general in the world watch Ukrainian officers outperform Russia using your platform, then sell it to everyone else at full price. The stock went from $12 to 6, crashed with the rest of tech, looked like another overhyped startup. Then AI happened. ChatGPT launched, and analysts noticed Palantir wasn't building theoretical AI. They were running real AI on real battlefields, battle tested, under fire. Stock went from 6 to over 100, 800% from the bottom. But here's what separates Palantir from everyone else. Rheinmetall sells shells. They explode once and they're gone. Lockheed sells missiles. Same thing. Cheniere sells gas. It gets burned. Palantir sells something that doesn't get used up. It compounds. Every data set makes the algorithm smarter. Every conflict is training data. The product improves with use. Ammunition is an expense. Data is an asset. And then Alex Karp, the CEO, says this on an earnings call. Direct quote: the power of advanced algorithmic warfare systems is now so great that it equates to having tactical nuclear weapons against a conventional adversary. Tactical nuclear weapons, a software CEO on an earnings call about his own product. So, 5 companies, record profits. One question: where did the money actually come from? Okay, this is where it gets uncomfortable. A javelin hits a tank in Donetsk. That missile cost $178,000. That money started as a paycheck in Ohio, passed through Congress, became a defense appropriation, landed on Lockheed's balance sheet, became a dividend, ended up in a brokerage account, maybe a senator's. One missile, 6 transactions, zero debate. The US has sent over 175 billion in aid to Ukraine. Europe over 100 billion. Combined, $275 billion. Not all of it went to weapons, but enough did to transform 5 balance sheets. Those 5 companies have added $250 billion in market cap since the invasion. And somewhere in the Donbass, a woman is burying her husband in her backyard because the cemetery is under fire. Neighbors hold shovels. No ceremony. Her loss doesn't appear in any quarterly report. But the shell that killed him does. Revenue. Line item. Dusseldorf. That's the math of this war. Now, picture a senator. Wednesday morning, he votes yes on a $40 billion aid package. Wednesday afternoon, his portfolio ticks up because he holds stock in the companies that just got those contracts. In 2023, at least a dozen members of Congress on armed services committees held stock in defense companies receiving the contracts they voted to approve. The disclosure rules are conveniently imprecise. Nobody calls it corruption because it's legal, perfectly normal in Washington, which might be the most disturbing part. Eisenhower warned about this in 1961. The military industrial complex, it didn't go away after his speech. It went public, got listed on stock exchanges, hired lobbyists, built factories in every congressional district, turned every senator into a stakeholder. But here's the detail that stopped me cold. Open any defense company's annual report. Skip to the back, section called Risk Factors, and somewhere in that section, in careful legal language, you'll find a variation of this sentence. A reduction in geopolitical tensions could materially affect our revenue. Let that sink in. Translated into plain English, peace could hurt our profits. Peace, listed under risk factors in a public document signed by the CEO, filed with the SEC. None of these companies started the war, but all of them built a system that runs better when one is happening. The machine doesn't need anyone to be evil. Incentives do the work. Stock prices do the work. Quarterly earnings calls do the work. And what the machine rewards, quarter after quarter, war after war, is not peace. The war in Ukraine is not a tragedy that happens to generate profit. For certain balance sheets, it's a profit engine that happens to involve tragedy. That distinction matters. The most powerful weapon of the 21st century isn't a HIMARS launcher or a Bayraktar drone, it's a purchase order, signed in an office, converting someone's death into someone else's dividend. Right now, tonight, a Rheinmetall factory in Dusseldorf is running a night shift. A Lockheed plant in Arkansas is boxing a HIMARS unit. A Cheniere tanker is mid Atlantic. A Palantir algorithm is processing drone footage. And in Istanbul, Baykar engineers are testing the next generation. 5 companies, 5 balance sheets, one war. Somewhere, someone is looking at a stock ticker, green numbers, arrow up, another good quarter, and smiling. If you want to keep seeing what most channels won't show, subscribe. Next video: one phone call in 1956 that ended the British Empire in 24 hours. 7 words and a currency. Last question. Rheinmetall stock, February 23rd, 2022. One day before the invasion. If you'd bought it, you'd be up 700% today. US intelligence was publicly warning about the invasion for weeks. The information was there. Some people acted on it. Would you have? Tell me below.